Welcome into the South Plains College team room here for the South Plains College Texans, where we're joined by NJCAA Hall of Famer Steve Green, who had a pretty good thing going around about the first part of March last year, and then all of a sudden we pumped the brakes, we locked things up, and here we are now in January of 2021. Coach, it's been a long time since I've seen you, man.
You missed me?
I did, Coach.
Really?
Every day, man. Every day.
That's good to know, man.
It's been a wild ride from the time that we walked away from the courts back in March till now. You know, it's just been one of those things that I've been in this 21 years, and I never recall anything like this, Coach. It's certainly been a different kind of an era to deal with.
It's the longest off season I've ever been a part of, and it's kind of crazy. You know, usually the off season consists of a little bit of time off, and then getting players, getting them through the spring semester and moving on to the next place and graduating, and then bringing in new players and all that kind of stuff. But this off season's been about everything but basketball, it seems. From how do you dress to go to a game? Where can you sit? Can you go to the game? Can you scream? Or do you have to keep your mouth shut? I've never seen so much discussion about so many other things that go on in just every normal day of life. We're moving forward. I appreciate the fact that our league, and I guess it goes all the way to the governor. He's allowing the state to play, and I think it's been great. And hopefully we're gonna get after it. We're gonna attack this thing here in about 10 days.
It's really important for the athletes. To take that amount of time off. Anyway, now, grant you, we'd love to tell you every kid went out and ran on their own and lifted on their own and shot on their own and so on and so forth. But for these guys playing basketball, there's a path that we have set forward for years and years and years. You start throwing rocks and hurdles into this path, it certainly is an important thing to get this season underway and get these guys some time on the court.
Well, most of the time, if you're a college basketball player, you're a high school basketball player, you're playing in leagues in the summer and AAU and things like that. And when you're not doing that, you're working out. You're doing a lot of things to try to improve. But gym's locked up. None of that stuff went on this summer. It was we shut this one down, and I guess our guys got out of here. Well, we had the deal where we accepted a bid to go to the national tournament, and then the next day told them go home, and we'll get back with you, basically. And most of us knew then that the tournament was going to be canceled. So, and that was what, March? It was still in March.
March 13th, 14th, somewhere in there when it all went south.
It's been a long off season. Now, what I try to do when we brought our guys back is to try to make it as normal as possible. So we kind of went through the same kind of September and October, get them over here and try to get them in a little bit of shape, work on skill and things of that sort. And then we actually went, we went all the way to Florida to scrimmage and scrimmage really good teams down there. And we were set to go to Oklahoma City and scrimmage the Kansas rep and the Iowa rep, the teams that are in the national tournament from those two places every year. And about 4 days before we got ready to go, it got pulled out from underneath us with some testing at one of those schools, or somebody got sick, or whatever it was, and so we couldn't go. But we were getting ready to scrimmage a non-conference schedule that would probably exceed anything we would have had to do in the national tournament. So we tried to do that. In Salt Lake City, who we played the national tournament a couple times, and who we play every year in Mesa, it seems like. They flew out here to scrimmages. So we did what we could to have a November event or what have you. But and I think it helped. I really do. I think it helped our guys, to keep the hope alive, so to speak. And now we're back, and we've been practicing now since January 10th or 11th, I can't remember, I think it was 11th was our first practice. And we're gonna open up here, no, it was the second, wasn't it? No, I think it was before the 10th, I don't know. Tell you the truth, I don't know when it was, I can't remember.
We're just glad there's basketball bouncing around, Coach.
I've never lost track of days of the week and things like I have this year in my life. But whatever day we were allowed to bring them back, then I think we start practice like the next day, and we're going to play our first game on the 20th now.
How much did it change scouting and recruiting?
Well, there hadn't been any. I mean, recruiting, recruiting in junior college a lot is chasing leads, those kind of things, and we just didn't get to eyeball them. I think Matt made one recruiting trip when the NJCA lifted the ban on going out. There was a small window through there, and I think he went out then and saw a player or two. But the rest of the stuff has just been video and things of that sort, and word of mouth. Hey, we're very lucky. We were in this respect. We had a lot of guys coming back.
Let's talk about the team, because
Yeah.
I got to watch you work out a little bit yesterday, and you mentioned it. A lot of guys coming back to this roster who had some success last year. It's a really nice nucleus to start building things
Oh,
around.
yes, we have Phil coming back, we have Rivaldo coming back, we have Vonnie coming back, we have Uwat coming back, you gotta help me here, let's see, let me look up the board, see. We have Ben coming back, anybody else? No, I think that's it. Oh, and then we had Myron, who was in here at Christmas time, so we had, we basically had a group of guys that had a considerable amount of success last season, and that team earned the right to go to Hutch last year. So, all in all, you said, well, hey, man, if you get to go up there, you're having a pretty good season. So, with a lot of those guys coming back from that team, it didn't put us in a big hole like some teams, like or a coach takes a new job. Can you imagine taking a job in April of last year and you have no team and you have no way of getting one, and so you're going to see a lot of I think a lot of strange things that happen this year.
Talk about some of the guys that are the new faces in the lineup. I know all things considered, it seems to me, watching them work out yesterday, you had a pretty good recruiting class despite recruiting being different in 2020.
Well, I think we've made ourselves a little bit better. Our point, we have 2 point guards, or two what you would call just straight point guards. We took a kid from Pampa, and we have one that actually came from a prep school in Florida via Italy, I think. And both of them bring kind of unique skills to it. And they're really helped by the fact that our wings are back, which is, with Ben and Rivaldo and, Myron, Phil, these guys are all quality players. And so, that's a pretty good blend. We've got the largest team I don't think I've ever had. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best inside team, but it is by far the largest.
Yeah, it seemed to me watching you work out, you're just a really long basketball team.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared standing underneath the basket, watching practice or coaching or whatever it is I do. And these guys are big now. They're really big young men. So, we've added Jimmy from I think he's from Washington D.C. We've got a kid named Val that's from Cameroon. Antonio is from, he's been in the country, but he was from the Dominican. He's 6'11" maybe. These are big young men.
Let's talk about the chemistry, because I know we've talked several times in the past that getting chemistry together in a 2-year system really is a trick to the trade. It's got to be in your toolbox to make it successful. How's that been for the fact that you just haven't played much basketball through the fall?
Yeah, well, the nucleus of the team was here last year, so you build on that. There's an amazing amount of growth that goes on in junior college with freshman kids that had success, or first-year guys that had success that come back for their sophomore year. They just get it. They understand a whole lot more now. And so, you know, we've got Ben, Rivaldo, Phil, Vonnie. The fact that Myron was here, even though he didn't participate in games. I mean, these guys just, they kind of understand it. And it puts them ahead of a team that's never played together. So, you know, they've been fun, you know, so far. You know, we've had a good time. I think we performed well in our scrimmages that we had. I mean, there's always, you know, a lot of room for improvement, but over the, you know, if you look at the whole total picture, I think we did pretty well.
They got a Wednesday game in here next week before you hit the road and you go up to Oklahoma. That field in Oklahoma looks to be a good test right out of the gate for you coming up.
Do you know that our Oklahoma trip got canceled?
I did not know that.
Today.
Huh?
It just did.
Yeah, it just got.
Well, that would have been a really good trip, Coach, on that run to Oklahoma.
We've been since yesterday at about 4 till today at about 10, trying to reschedule games. The facility that was going to host us, we had like 8 teams coming in there. All of a sudden, pulled the plug on it. So there's a bunch of teams that need games now. Well, you know, the logistics of it, trying to get it all. You know, I said, well, hey, we'll host it here. Well,
They didn't think that was a good idea.
No. There's a bunch of people didn't. However, what we did is we kind of moved our schedule around a little bit, and we lost 3 games, but we picked up 3 games, and 2 of them now will be here instead of up there, and then the other one will actually be we'll go to Enid for a game, Enid, Oklahoma. So, and there's going to be we're allowed to play 22 games. And we're going into the season right now, and I only have 19. And so, the fact that New Mexico Junior College is not going to play this year, we lost 2 right there, you know. So, and that comes in February. So we're kind of on the lookout for, you know, some things that could happen. And you know, and you get your fingers crossed. You're hoping that we can get through a conference season without cancellations and things of that sort. So, you know, our league has done a pretty good job, I think, of trying to put in some protocol to allow these guys to play and reduce the number of cancellations that we could possibly have. So we'll see what happens.
And I think kudos goes out to South Plains College. You know, your athletic director, Roger Redding, all the way up to Dr. Satterlite, because frankly, there's schools that aren't playing. There's schools that aren't allowed to travel. Hence why you went all the way to Georgia and Florida to scrimmage early in the year. It's been a great effort, I think, by the administration to keep the program moving forward and give you the opportunities.
Yeah, and we've done it with, I think, certain safety precautions we've taken, you know, along the way. I mean, you know, we have to do certain things before we can practice every day. If somebody we think is display some symptoms and stuff like that, you know, we have a protocol that we go through with him, and what have you. But to this point, I mean, it's been great, and I do. I mean, trust me, because I have talked to other college coaches, and particularly in junior college, and they're limited as to where they can go. You know, whether they can stay all night. You know, they're making, you know, decisions based on I don't know, a lot of fear-driven, I think, decisions. And I'm not saying that I'm not making a judgment here. I'm just saying that we feel comfortable in like you know, the protocol that we have, you know. And I know we've talked to a lot of people, and they're, you know, our training staff is heavily involved. You know, DeEtte Edens, our nurse on campus, is heavily involved. Our housing people are heavily involved in the contact tracing and stuff. So, you know, without spending $1 zillion like, you know, like maybe Big 12 schools do, we've done, I think, as good of a job, and we've been as aggressive in trying to have a season as probably any junior college, you know, in the country. And I'm Hey, I'm tickled to death. I know my guys are. And I think they've done their part, you know, I mean, they realize this is a special season. I told them this, I said, even though all this stuff is going on, you're the luckiest class ever to come along from this standpoint. This year doesn't count for your eligibility. I mean, think about that. They're going. We have sophomores on our team that will have played 2 years of college basketball that are going to leave here and get to go on to a Division I school and play 3 more. You know, so I mean, in that respect, they're very, very lucky, very fortunate. Now, they're getting an abbreviated season, but 22 games in itself is still. I only play 28 anyway. You know, that's why I scheduled those scrimmages like we did. You know, so I mean, they're getting almost a complete season, and it doesn't count. You know, for their eligibility. So.
And every coach I've talked to is really from the high school ranks, college ranks, has said the same thing. The kids understand, they get it, and they know in order to do what they want to do, to advance their careers, to play at a place like South Plains College, to win games, that there's things you have to do.
Yeah.
And these guys, the motivation for these guys goes a lot deeper than just the W's and the L's. These are guys, as you mentioned, that could have 3-4 years of college basketball ahead of them.
Well, we've got one guard, the one I told you about, the kid from Florida. I mean, he's already signed to go to Cal State Bakersfield next year. Okay, he'll play for us for 1 year, and then he'll get to go to major college and play 4 years. You know, so I mean, it's in some respects. These kids are, just like I said, you guys are very, very fortunate, you know. Now, had we had to wipe out this season, I don't know. But the fact that we're gonna, you know, push forward and have a season, or do the best that we can to have a season, and there is no penalty as far as your eligibility concerned. Man, you guys are lucky, man. I tell you what, there's none of us that played that ever wants your career to be over. And these guys are gonna get 5 years, you know.
Coach, of course, you've got games coming up. You got a game coming up Wednesday. Strength in Motion, I guess, is.
No, we're playing. See, that's part
That's
of it.
changed too.
You need to come around more often.
Well, I tell you what, I just don't spend enough time here.
No, we moved them to Friday and Saturday, and New Mexico military is going to come over. We're going to have a little class, and we're going to play Murray out of Oklahoma, I think, which was I think they won their region last year in Oklahoma, and so they're going to come out. We were going to play Murray in Oklahoma.
Right.
So now they're going to come out here and we're going to play, and then us and New Mexico military are going to swap opponents. We had to put together, there's a team that's coming out of Dallas called RPA College, which is another one of these traveling teams. And so we're going to open with them Wednesday at, I think, 6 p.m. here. Then we play the Classic with Murray and Strength in Motion. And then I think it's off to Enid, I believe, Oklahoma,
27.
to play that game. So we put, it's not, I mean, schedule-wise, it's, you know, we're losing the Phoenix tournament where we've always played 3 teams from around the country and what have you, because, you know, contrary to what we did, they shut down in Phoenix, you know, so the schedule may not, I mean, it may not be teams that you, God, yeah, I've heard of them, and I've heard of them. I mean, there's going to be some people maybe you haven't heard of, you know, and what have you. But we get into the league, and it's still going to be the same old, you know, people we don't like.
Same old usual characters, as it were, same suspects.
Yeah, with the exception of New Mexico Junior College. So,
well, good news is, as you said before, you had 3 games scratched, and you got 3 games
I got
back.
those back,
And,
you know, and have added one, and we still have the potential of putting together maybe 3 more. You know, I don't want to just play anybody, and when I say anybody, I mean just, you know, like JVs and things like that.
Games for the sake of
I
games.
really don't like to do that. It doesn't do any good. And but by the same token, this has been the most difficult year to find somebody, because everybody has been limited. As an example, East Texas, who we've year in and year out, you know, like last year we played Navarro, we played Trinity Valley, and those teams are playing 22 games, that's all you can play. And they're playing only within their league, nobody else. Kansas Junior College, we've played Seward throughout the years. They have a 22 game league schedule. So they can't play anybody else. So these places where we have gone to find other non-league games in the past, that they're kind of hamstrung because they have more teams in their conference. So,
And, the fact that we were never tripping over junior college teams out here in West Texas before that weren't conference opponents. You take some of the good wells away when you start talking about East Texas, you start about Kansas. You really take some quality opponents away that really make you a better basketball team at the end of the year.
Oh, I know. I mean, this Mesa tournament has always been good for us. We played Snow, we played Salt Lake, or we'll play Mesa, or we played Indian Hills. I mean, we've played really, really, top tier our league or better teams, and gone out there and got to experience those teams. And that way, when you get to the national tournament, you're not playing against people that are usually any better than what you've already played during the season. So, but this year it's really different, man. Hey, I appreciate the schools. I mean, Murray of Oklahoma, that's kind of on the same path that we're on. I mean, they want to have a season, and they want to play good people, and so, hey, they're getting in a bus and coming 7.5 hours out here to play 2 games. The fact that Enid is allowing us to come up there, and play them. So, I mean, there are some teams that are really doing everything they possibly can.
Good news is, folks, there's basketball at South Plains College.
Oh, yeah.
Be flexible. Watch the website better than I do, obviously.
Yeah, well,
you got to do better than me.
Well, maybe our SID's kind of falling down on the job.
It's on there.
Well, that's what I get for not researching before I come in, Coach. But, Coach, any final thoughts for us before we wrap up today and get ready to start some basketball here in a few days?
We'd like to see as many people as possible here January the 20th, I think, at 6 p.m. And, I would suggest that, to those people that they exercise, the same safety that they do when they go to the grocery store. This is a big place here. You don't have to worry about, I think being, sitting next to somebody like this. I mean, there's a lot of room, to spread out here, and we're not trying to discourage anybody from coming. But if you feel like it's not the best place for you individually, hey, we understand, and the games are going to be streamed and what have you. But we're going to have quality players out here, and this is one of the more talented teams that we've had. So, and we've had a few. So
grab your hand sanitizer, grab your mask, come on out to the Dome, sit in your own little section, watch quality basketball. Hey, life doesn't get too much better than that.
No, I mean, it's like, I went to the Gonzaga, Virginia game at Dickey Arena and enjoyed it. I mean, there wasn't anybody sitting on my left. There was somebody on my right. Wasn't anybody right in front of me, I got to see 2 really, really good teams in a 12,000 seat arena, and there was about probably 3,000 of us there, what have you, And now this is not 12,000, we'll see 3,600, but hey, we'll let pretty close to 1,000 of you in without any problem before we start getting a little,
Starting to have to count heads at that
I don't
point.
think it'll be a problem, So.
Coach, we appreciate your time. Thanks for taking time out to visit with us. Best of luck to yourself, the Texans, this year. Looking forward to getting basketball season started at the Dome, and we'll see you then.
All right.
That's candidate head coach of the South Plains College Texans, Coach Steve Green. For SPCTexans.com and KLVT Levelland, KLVTradio.com, I'm Michael Wiiest.